Monday Night Live as the Red Sox batter the Astros and the Braves walk off the Dodgers twice. Diamond Diehards is on. Joe Rizzo here, bringing you baseball along with the dog, Jeff Healy. Oh, there you are, doggy. We are doing the Monday Night Live on Facebook, so if you're live with us, we appreciate you being here. And if you're catching it on your usual haunts on audio on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher, if you're watching it on YouTube later, that's cool too. We're live, but we're evergreen because you can pick us up anytime you want. Follow us at Diamond Diehards on all the social media and check us out and interact with us if you want to do some business even as well. Check us out even on LinkedIn. We are at Diamond Diehards everywhere. You can follow the dog at Jeff Healy 8. That's the number 8. And you can follow me, Joe Rizzo, at Diamond Diehards on Twitter. Those are the most active places. Check out the Facebook group if you're not checking it out right now. Facebook.com/groups/Diamond Diehards. We do some cool features on this show. We oftentimes go live, many times during games while they're going on. This one happens to be another destructive Boston Red Sox Houston Astros game, and the Red Sox at this point while we are live, and if you're not listening to it live, that's fine. We're at the point where it's 9-0 in the top of the fourth inning in Fenway Park. So the Astros are just trying to get through another game, and for the second straight game, they've given up at least one grand slam, and they're down 9-0 in the early innings, and they have to figure out their way to get through that. We'll talk more about that, and we'll talk about the Braves Dodgers, and we'll also talk about the stuff that's going on off the field as we progress through the show. We do a couple of features here very often on most shows. They are Veteran of the Day and they are Die Hard Dads. We will have installments of both of those for you. And if you're familiar with it and you like the format, then you know that I am about to hand it over to the dog, Jeff Healy, to do the first of those features, which is Veteran of the Day, and a very special one today. Dog?
Thanks, Riz. Yeah, it's a little tough one, but kind of knew it was coming for a little while. Earlier today, um, four-star general, full general of Army General Colin Powell passed away at the age of 84. Colin Powell's had been having some issues with cancer. I think specifically blood cancer. I followed him on Facebook and whatnot, and LinkedIn, and I mentioned for a while they've been kind of sick and stuff. He was vaccinated, but wound up getting COVID, and I think passed away as a result of complications with COVID. But again, probably mostly just due to his age and due to fighting the blood cancer as well, because he was kind of in declining health for a little while. Really special for those of us in the Bronx around that time. He's a Bronx kid, went to City College, commissioned ROTC, so again, sort of soft spot to my heart. I was a ROTC guy as well. It was inspiring at the time that he could rise up to be chief of staff of the Army. Um, he was the leader of the Army during the Operation Desert Storm, and was instrumental in really briefing the American public into a new way of American fighting, talking about cutting off Saddam's army and then killing it. Um, Very blunt and really applied the lessons that the army learned in Vietnam when himself, John Schwarzkopf, etc., were young captains and majors, and they vowed that they would not let the problems that they had in Vietnam happen again, and they really changed the army 180 degrees. Couple interesting. He's yeah, and also went on beyond that. He was a national security advisor as well. One of his first Black Secretary of State as well. Was a great role model for everybody, black and white, around the United States. Often rumored as a presidential candidate. Never wanted to. I think because of um, some mental health issues that his wife had, which again, maybe before it was the big time to talk about it and stuff. I wound up trying to protect her from the crush of that, which I think kind of shows his selflessness. Because frankly, he could have walked in as either a Democrat or a Republican and won it. He actually won the New Hampshire primary in '96 on the GOP side as a write-in, so he wasn't even on the ballot, and he still won it, even though he was saying, "I'm not running." So that just kind of shows you the power that the man had. Two great quotes I think he had. One of my buddies actually posted this, so I'm going to take it right from here. So I apologize for reading off here, but he had two sort of like he had a bunch of little sort of rules and stuff that he would talk about, and these two I thought were ones that always kind of hit home with me. One is the day soldiers stop bringing you their problems is the day you have stopped leading them. They've either lost confidence that you can help them or concluded that you do not care. Either case is a failure of leadership. I think that's you just got to sit and think of that one for a while. That's a really, really, really profound one, I think, and really hits home, particularly those of us who have led soldiers. Another one sort of at the flip side of that, and maybe more of a positive one here, is that perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. So a force multiplier in the Army is like something where you add this and all of a sudden whatever you're going to assist becomes much better. Basically the sum is greater than the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And it was something I always found was interesting was that ROTC was always very upbeat, always very optimistic organization, which is unusual in the military, even unusual versus other commissioning sources within it. And it was kind of stuck with me that I think it actually really kind of changed my outlook on how I looked at things in life, and it wound up being more of an optimistic person along the way, and always sort of took that forward in my military leadership career, and in my civilian side as well. And it really is positive. It really does. I mean, you can't be just pie-eyed willy-nilly or whatever, but for the most part, life is generally is pretty good. And if you just sit there and look and find the good out there, and emphasize that out to people, and just have an outlook that you're in the greatest country in the world, the greatest time to ever be alive. Um, keep a positive attitude, and good things are going to happen. And it starts to become infectious. Um, and you can kind of look no further than like the baseball playoffs, right? Every year, all of a sudden, these magical teams kind of come about. You know why? Because they're all perpetually optimistic that if they're not going to do it, the next guy's going to do it, and it just becomes a really virtuous circle. So I think that's a good one for us to kind of leave it off on. So again, our veteran of the day was Army General Colin Powell.
All right, dog. That's it's an unbelievable job by you right there. This was, when we talked about right before the show, it was like kind of a no-brainer. How could you not do it? And geez, I don't know. Should we just end the show right there, talk? I mean, like,
He's a tough one to follow.
I know, I know. Is this the wrong time to talk about the size of Big Ed's tunnel? I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Okay, so let's jump right into it. The Red Sox just keep hitting grand slams like they're going out of style. This is it is funny, dog, because with the way that media is these days, right? It's like whoever had the best last game or whoever's like hot for a game or two, they're already being anointed as the champions, right? Like
Yep.
the Red Sox are now like in this second straight game, like everybody's just the Astros are done, blah blah blah. Like really, the Astros of all teams are done. I mean, they might be, it's possible, but they go out Tuesday and, they're just as capable of putting up that nine by the third inning as the Red Sox are, right?
Yep.
They're probably the one team more capable than any of erasing a stupid 9-0 deficit and giving us a crazy epic playoff game. Um, and if, by the way, that ends up happening, then that's my best one ever. But
Take it.
I mean, even the previous game in game two, right? The Red Sox got out 9-0, and by the end it was 9-5. Now they really weren't in trouble, but like guy coming in and giving up two homers in the ninth inning when nobody's paying attention. And then they got to go back to the bullpen again. The Red Sox bullpen is not exactly loaded either. So to just throw dirt on the Astros, I mean, do that, and piss them off at your own at your own risk because they're not likely, I don't think, to just go down here without a fight. And it doesn't matter, dog, right? Like if you lose a playoff game by 1 run or by 17 runs, no team ever proved that more than the 2004 Red Sox of all teams, right? They got
Yep.
destroyed in 3 games against the Yankees, and then they eked one out and they eked another out, and then all of a sudden they've completely turned the tide. So you can't go by the pundits that are, I mean, some of these people that are on the air, right? Like I can't fault them. I mean, they have to constantly talk about baseball or, we're down to 2 games sometimes a day, 1 game a day. And you got to, you're going on different shows and you got your own shows and there's only so much you could say about the game and it sort of pays to like kind of have a take, right? But realistically, the series is far from over. I mean, the Red Sox are a lead pipe cinch here by the time where most of you guys and girls are listening to this to be up 2 games to 1 in the series, but it's a 7 game series. And I would not be the least bit surprised then, dog, if the Astros turned around and just won 3 straight and got out of there and went to the World Series again. I wouldn't be surprised at any result in this series from this point. The Dodger series with the Braves is an interesting one because it seems a lot like deja vu all over again, right? Where the Braves didn't the Braves get up to they got up definitely 3 games to 1. I think it
It
was
was
2-0,
2-0 and
right?
3-1, I
Yeah,
believe.
it was
Two
2-0
zero
and
and then
3-1,
3-1.
right?
Yep.
And they walked the Dodgers off twice, but to me, dog, what was great about this game and you and I are, we're constantly on Twitter. We're a little more, we're forward thinking old schoolers. Is that a good way to describe us?
Actually, I
Um,
like that.
we
I kind
like
of
the
get that. We
we
know
like
we try and take from both.
we like the Shigon
We're old
stuff.
school.
We like
Yeah.
the Shigon Nation stuff. Those are our people. Those people
Yeah.
speak to us. They're more like our generation, but we don't. I think we listen to you know all fields and try to you know push out some of the charlatan stuff and stick with the stuff, not just the stuff that we know, but the stuff that we can learn. Eddie Rosario in game 2 was old school baseball. Like with Ron Washington. I mean, if Ron Washington's name was Phil Nevin, like people would not be lauding him right now
Oh,
because he
that
just
was an unbelievable set. Even at the time, I'm like, what are you doing?
the sequence of the whole thing. So let's replay it. So Rosario is on first, and his team is down 4-2 in the 8th inning. Freeman comes up, and he hits a fly ball to straight away left. Maybe it was a little toward the line, but it's. I think it was medium left.
Medium depth at most. Yeah.
Yeah, and AJ Pollock, who has like a solid arm. I mean, he's not Roberto Clemente, but who is? He makes the catch and he's paying
He's on it.
attention. He's
Yeah.
not he's not asleep. Like he makes the catch. He has his feet set. He doesn't crow hop, I don't think. He just makes the throw. And the throw has juice on it, but it's just offline. Well, Rosario tags up. And if the throw is online,
Dead duck.
it's at worst bang bang and more likely he's probably out. Right, dog? Fair to
Yeah, I think
say?
it's dead duck. Yep.
Probably. I don't know if he's dead for sure. It's going to be close. He can make a good slide, maybe get in there, and the tag has to be good. So,
True.
but the throw was probably there. Anyway, he slides in, and it's Trey Turner. Has to cover about 6 feet, which nobody covers 6 feet faster in the game than he does. But nonetheless he's safe. Then he's at second. there's a there's a it's like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a sing like it wasn't even like a liner. It was just like a weak single
Yeah.
that hits the outfield grass, and it's hit strong enough to get to the outfield grass where there's no fielder, but weak enough that the fielder in right field, who was Steven Souza Jr., has to really charge it. Now he's got a better arm. He's probably got the best arm of the Dodger outfielders, and he picks it clean. And Ron Washington just waves in Eddie Rosario like he's Vince fucking Coleman in 1987. Hey,
Yeah, because
like,
Rosario has to hold up just enough to make sure it wasn't going to get caught.
right, you're right. That's a
Yeah,
key.
it was
Right.
just close enough for that. Yeah, so he didn't get
But
a great jump. Yeah.
right, but he held, but at least like when he held up, he was like more than halfway to third.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he had a good jump there. So his hold up, he didn't have to hold up in a bad spot. But Ron Washington waves him in like he's Maury Wills in 1962. And Eddie Rosario, just the throw is like dead on. Will Smith is trying to block the plate. And listen, he's not the greatest defensive catcher, but he made a good play there.
Yeah.
And he makes a good play. He's in good position. He brings down the tag, and Eddie Rosario makes this phenomenal head first slide, and he gets his left hand onto the plate before the tag comes in. And it's 4-3, and the crowd is just going crazy. Now, I
But
thought,
Bite gets in there at like maybe 2 fingers on
oh,
like the edge of the plate. It
yeah,
was like,
it
and you could not slide any better than
it was
Rosario did.
perfect.
And it was still like, oh my lord.
Yeah, Ron Washington's just sitting there like, yeah, I need a ciggy, just let me just like Ron Washington looked like he was ready to fire up like a lung dart after he just like, and I thought Smoltz made a great point at that juncture where he said, I don't want to be nitpicky, but like Ozzy
Oh,
Albies
that
should
was
be standing on second, and he's
100%.
totally right. So
Yep.
you have this like old school, like Eddie Rosario
Was Mostly
is.
or was that Glad? Or was that Darling? I thought it was Darling.
Oh, it's Darling. You're right. You're right. Because
Yeah.
it's a TBS
Okay.
game. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
It's Darling. Good call. Good call. Um,
I
I
was
can't.
finally awake for once. I've slept through most of
Yeah,
the highlights.
it was Darling. You're right.
So
So on the one, so Eddie Rosario, right? He is a batting average guy. He's not like an OPS guy so much because he's not a walk guy. He's a guy who's like in there and he wants to hit the ball. And, he's a pretty good hitter. Like he's got some power. He's a pretty decent defensive guy. And, he hits. And if he's going to hit, his on base percentage is mostly comprised of batting average.
yeah.
More on that in a bit. So he shows you this great fundamental ball. He puts the ball in play. He makes a heads up base running move, getting to second, albeit risky. He's down by 2. He's not down by 1. So if he gets fried on the base paths, it's huge, right? Huge. And he makes it by the skin of his nose a couple of times, and you're like, man, he's playing some old school baseball. Like, you got to have that timing. You got to have every step. You got to have your awareness of bat on ball. And he just did everything right, like the way an old school player does. And then you have Ozzy
Except you shouldn't
Albies.
have run on either one.
Yeah,
That's
but
what they would say. Every old
listen,
school guy's like, "What are you running for?"
well, yeah, but you know
So,
what? On the other hand, it's
but
a
he forced
playoff.
it.
If it's a playoff game and he's showing some balls and he's forcing the other team to make plays, and you know what? They made plays, and he still was the better of it. So,
Yeah.
so then you have this other camp where you're like, how is Ozzy Albies not on second? Like, I'm glad that Darling pointed it out because
Yeah.
I wouldn't have believed it. I would have been like, what is he doing up first? Like, how are you not there? You know that they're going to try to chuck him at the plate, and once the play is in there, I mean, he's
You
not
might
a
have been surprised that he went too.
yeah, he's not like a big
Yeah,
burner,
it's
but
plays in front of him. He's got to see it. He's got to be
plays
up
in
there.
front, right? Plays in
Yeah.
front of you, right? So, and you know what? If they're going to throw behind you at that point, you still get the run in. Although that would also be bad to get chucked there. Anyway, they go on to tie the game. They go on to win it. Eddie Rosario wins it with a missile.
Rocket.
a rocket that goes under Corey Seager's glove. Hopefully, Corey is able to get that next year when he's with the Yankees.
I was wondering, like, do you think? I think Kelly Jansen kind of screened him on that.
Uh,
Just the way it was lined up, because it went right past Kelly Jansen.
yeah, I
I'm
think
wondering
that
if he might have just lost it for a split second.
now while I'm not a guy that's obsessed with exit velo, 107 miles an hour off the bat is not a lot of reaction time.
Yeah.
Like even for a major leaguer, right? I
Well, I'm
mean,
saying just on top of that, just having that extra little bit of
okay, dog,
having something.
dog, getting somebody up in the bullpen.
Get him in, get him in.
We'll take a we'll
It
take a
is nine
break.
three. It's nine
We'll
three.
we'll take a break here to tell you about Schaefer beer. As okay, listen, we can't do play by play, folks. But it is 9-3. Wow. So I had a different screen up. I don't have the game itself on because I'm not in a television centric room, but I have the how did they get it? Let's see. How did they get it? Does dog have that information for
I
me?
do not have that information, fortunately. I was looking on our Facebook here. Then I just peeked down. I saw the 9-3,
Okay,
and
wait, let
then
me see if
I don't
it'll
know.
give it to
Somebody was
me
calling me.
here. Houston.
I think ADT was calling me. I think there's somebody in the house. But
oh,
we'll let the Diamond Dog deal
here's the
with
plays. Okay.
that.
Let's see. Kyle Tucker. Oh, 3-run homer by Kyle Tucker.
There
So
you
that'll get you back in quick.
go.
Bottom of the fourth. So 9-3. So there. That's how this thing works, dog.
Riz is 1/3 of the way there for being the prognosticator of the year.
Yeah, don't shovel dirt on the Astros. Do it at your own risk. Um, speaking of dirt, all right,
Okay.
dog. There's
Interesting
there's
transition.
in in
Turning to.
in some cases there's quite a bit of it on my vehicle. And there's just
Hate that.
only one thing to do when that happens for me, dog. And you
It's
know
one
what that
place to
is?
go.
You know what that is, right?
You got to go to Big Ed.
I go to Fair Lawn, New Jersey, and I go to Big Ed's Car Wash. That's right at the Bergen County, Passaic County border. If you're ever in Patterson, getting some of the wonderful food over there, or hitting the Home Depot, you're not far. If you're in Fair Lawn, you're right there, just along Route 208, Route 20. Go see Big Ed, Big Ed's Car Wash. What is he? He's a humble guy, dog. But what does he have that he could brag about?
It's got the biggest tunnel around.
He does, and the place is greener than green. He's he's being energy efficient, and he's a great guy too. So go check out Big Ed's Car Wash in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. And dog, sometimes like you like to get the word out about things, right? You're changing your address or your business is back in trade shows and you want to get some pens or something with your logo on it. Um, you're a little strapped. You don't know where to go. You don't know where to turn. What would you do?
I
What
need a
would you
guy.
do?
I would turn to the one place that I know that does this sort of stuff, and that's FMS Graphics.
Oh yeah, of course, fmsgraphics.com. How did I not think of that? That's stunning.
There you go.
fmsgraphics.com. Oh, look at this, dog. Did you know that they're a family owned, family run business for over 50 years?
I did not.
So,
Now I do.
fmsgraphics.com for all your printing and promotional needs. Now, dog, you know what? I see that. Like, we really love the virtual backgrounds, right? So, for the podcast, that's phenomenal. But, sometimes you're on the conference calls, you're at work, you're working from home either all the time or even sometimes now. You need like a piece of art for your home, your office, or your home office. Where does one turn in 2021 for that sort of thing?
If you're like us and you're huge into sports, you want something like that on your wall to distract you. Back in the day, that might have been the SI models, but today we go with sports maps.
The way you said that was funny. Is that sports maps? Is maps with a Z at the end
Maps
of it?
is with the Z.
So sportsmapz.com, and I could find a wonderful piece of art for the sports fan in me or in my family or my frienddom. I could do that, can't I?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's tell everybody to go to sportsmaps with a Z, mapz.com. All right, now that we've done that, that's always nice. It's always a nice part of the show. I really love doing that part of the show. And if you're interested in us doing stuff like that for you, I'd say LinkedIn is a really good place to find us at Diamond Diehards on LinkedIn. But any of the social media places where you could find us are equally well. Just hit us up at Diamond Diehards anywhere on social media. Join the Facebook group, the Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Speaking of TikTok, where's
Yeah,
Uncle Paul?
yeah, exactly. No, he
I don't
made the
know.
big time. Now he's too big for us
I
now.
know it's too big. It's okay.
Gotta get him in there. Get him in there.
All right, dog. The off. Okay, so we've talked about. I guess we went a little bit into the old school part of the game two section of the Dodgers Braves series as the Braves walk it off twice. And they did it last year. They were up 2-0. They were up 3-1. The Dodgers came all the way back, and then the Dodgers ended up winning the whole enchilada. But do the Braves have a little different feel this year? Maybe. Is it because of the fans? I don't know. Would you be shocked if this series went back to Atlanta with the Dodgers up 3-2?
No, you would not be shocked, though. It is surprising how much the Dodgers have had to rely on their bullpen already, and starting to wear it down a little bit. So that definitely gives a little bit of advantage, I think, to Atlanta versus the Dodgers within that. But yeah, you would think that if you can get the one right, that's all you're really kind of looking for if you're Atlanta. That's all you can really kind of count on. Um, but yeah, I mean, taking three, absolutely. I mean, they're won 106 games, right? So, and they've been pretty sharp in the playoffs too. So Atlanta's been cranking. The question is, how long can these guys who've been scorching hot, finding ways to get it done? How many times can they pull it out?
I had this thought before.
I actually, if I could though, real quick though, it does give you a little pause, right? The one sort of weakness that the Dodgers have had in their sort of magical run has been their bullpen, and Urias and Jansen both getting hit in those games. That's got to start to sink in your head a little bit.
Well, I was wondering this, dog, right? They had to play the 107 win Giants in the wild card, in succession after winning the wild card game in the NLDS, a 5 game series. We all knew it was going 5 games, and the Dodgers win it in the ninth inning of the fifth game. God, do we even have to talk about that? We could have done a whole
Ugh.
show on how Wilmer Flores checked his swing and was certainly I listen, he was going to hit a series winning walk-off home run on the next pitch. Prove me wrong. Prove me. Dude, he's
As
Wilmer Flores. He's got the most walk-off hits in Mets history. Legitimately, he does. You know that.
I mean, a Turner error leading to a Wilmer walk off. I mean, how Mets is that?
I know. Would have been
as
like the
Puma
most,
as Puma pointed out on
yeah,
Twitter,
would
friend
have
of
been
the
the
show.
most Mets thing ever. But I was just thinking through this a little bit. I'm like, it's to have played that series with the intensity, not just the intensity of the Dodgers Giants sick rivalry, which was, the heat was turned completely up on it, but you get it down to a winner take all game between two 109 win teams. It's never happened before. Two teams have never combined for that many wins. We're counting the playoffs as well. And faced each other. In the start of the series, it was the magic number was 213, and they broke two records that were held by, the Yankees and the Padres and the Yankees and the Mariners. So you get through those series and like it looks like it's just taken a little bit of starch out of the Dodgers. And the Braves, I don't know what it is. They look more menacing this year. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. The Braves feel different to me. The Dodgers still feel like the Dodgers. The Dodgers can come back and beat anybody. The Braves feel a little bit different. I don't. Maybe it's because of the mix with the like I could see Eddie Rosario this game and Adam Duvall next game and then maybe then the Stars take over after that and Freddie Freeman wins you a game and then
Yeah, I must say, I mean, Freddie Freeman's been cold and they're still two zip, which
right
is
you know,
tremendous.
Freeman, Albies, Riley. Maybe they just win you a game. And before that, maybe the Dodger, Walker Bueller just says, "All right, you guys are just not winning this game." But like the Braves just have a little bit of a different feel. They sort of feel like anybody could jump in. And in the past, like when they've had Acuna there, like I felt like as Acuna goes, they're gonna go, and that's with all due respect to Freeman. Like Acuna just seemed to set the tone for that team so much. Now without him there, I think that a lot of the other guys have just they've gotten so used to being able to pick it up, and I just think they're a little bit more dangerous this year. Like I was shocked when they got up 3-1, but even when they were up 3-1 last year, dog, and we could go back and listen to the shows, and sometimes we actually do that stuff. I still always felt like the Dodgers were somehow going to come back and win the series. I was just like, are the Braves really going to win this series? But this year, I feel like I don't know, like the Braves could just go win the third game and be on the precipice here, and give themselves three chances, four chances essentially to win one game and have two at home and two on the road if they get that third game out of there. I don't know. They're menacing a little bit, the Braves right now.
Yeah, they just keep finding a way, right? I mean, next man up, and they great additions at the trading deadline that really paid off huge for them. And like you're saying, it's really sort of a depth thing, and like we were kind of talking in the veteran day, right? Like the perpetual optimism, right? That just feels like around that team, they just continue to find a way to make it happen. I mean, they weren't even favored to win the division. I mean, it wound up being a lousy division at the end of it, not what we expected going into it. But they just continue to find a way to get it done, and they've done that for so long. Well, there you are.
There you are, Barry.
Yeah.
Uh, Away from the series is since we're kind of like New York centric with our teams, but we do cover the whole league, and we were talking about that like we're old school guys with a new school look or whatever I said. I don't know. You said I said it well. Now I can't even remember what I said. The Cardinals parting ways with Mike Shildt was I was dubious about that. I felt like that's one of those things. I'm gonna connect some dots here, dog, and you tell me if I'm out of whack. Dave Roberts talks about how decisions about which pitchers are gonna pitch and what the lineup's gonna look like a little bit and who's eligible to go which day and at what point this pitcher's supposed to come in. Um, he's explaining how most of those decisions are just made way above his head, and you can't kill him for managing because that's the way he keeps his job, right? He keeps his job that way, and you could say, well, he's got to stand up and he's got to have some balls and manage with your gut and blah 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 blah. But if he does that, like he doesn't keep his job, so what is he supposed to do, right? So I think it's
He should lose his job so that guy on Twitter feels better.
well, but it goes to me to like Mike Shildt, right? Like it seems pretty evident that Mike Shildt was saying, "Look, I'm the manager. Like for me to do my job, I have to be empowered to be able to make those calls when and how I see fit. And yes, I will in general stick to the plan, but when I need to, you know, steer the ship into what looks like some rocky waters, you got to trust that I'm going to be the pilot that's going to be able to get you through the inlet on the other side on a rough day." And they said, "Well, I guess, we just have a difference in philosophies." And somebody put it, so the guy who traded Randy Rosarena for a bag of balls in 2019
Hey,
is
buddy.
now telling Mike Shildt that he's wrong. Okay, um, but listen,
It's funny, but it's boy does it hit home.
well, it's
It's
curious.
a
Like,
classic thing, like kind of to merge into different things. Like you're sort of saying, like merge in the old and new. I mean, that's where again, like to me, the best of both worlds is you have a manager who is able to assess the human nature of the game and stuff that doesn't come across in the computer printout as well. But you merge that with the analytical power of a good organization behind them, giving that sorts of information, right? It's all information coming in, and if it's from looking in a guy's eye, that doesn't make that information any less valuable than information coming in on the heat map or whatever else, right? I mean, they're both important information, and to ignore either side is wrong. And you know, clearly, I would say that the Cardinals are an organization that have been able to merge those two in the past, and I don't know, for a reason they're now deciding that a guy who won 17 in a row for him, got a team in the playoffs that really had no business being there, frankly, um, and gets tossed out. I mean, that's just mind-boggling. I mean, if you're,
no, but
I mean, let's put it this way: if you were a corporate company, Carl Icahn would be like agitating to throw out the board right now, and he'd be right.
uh, and no, any business being there beyond less business being there. Come on. I mean, he's the reason that they were there.
Yep.
Like, players play, they have to execute. But oh, hi, Uncle Paul. Oh, there you are, Uncle Paulie. The players have to execute, but uh, when these teams go on, you look through history. Man, I should have done this. Teams that have these long winning streaks, like these epic winning streaks, once you're getting to like 15 and over, I'd say. Usually you look back and you're like, "Oh yeah, I know who that manager was." Like, you know, like they usually that's
Yeah.
I'm anecdotal, dog. I shouldn't say it. I should go through and I should look up the teams that have had the longest winning streaks and who managed them. Um, and I could try to do that while we're on the air and see if it validates my thought process. But I feel like that's a managerial type asset where you can get like a team that starts rolling. If they're managed well, you could get them really rolling.
Yeah.
But I can't say and you know me, I like to have done that research before I come out and say it. So I can't be so sure of myself, but I tend to think that if Dog was able to do like a 3 minute soliloquy, I might be able to Google it and figure out and pull it up.
I've already waxed poetic a lot tonight.
No, no, but I mean, listen, if you're just joining in, go back and listen to Doug honor the late Colin Powell as veteran of the day. That was really a great job by you, Dog. I mean, I always pump your tires, but that was just especially good, you know. So go back and listen to that toward the beginning of the show. Let's see, longest winning streaks in baseball history. blah 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 blah.
See,
Let's
that'd
see
be
if they have
interesting
them.
because, like back in the day, right? Say it's like the '20s Yankees, whatever, and like stuff like that, or the '50s Yankees, or whatever other Yankees it could be. Never the Mets. That in general, you also had good managers as well. Like you had the whole organization. Like that was kind of everything coming together. It would be interesting to see if there's any in sort of like the post 2000 ish, where you can kind of put you know, is it the computer or is it the manager? You kind of put a checker on checker. So how's that? Let me make it a little harder for you.
Yeah, it's a good. I mean, it's a good argument to. I mean, I could tell you that by pay grade, they're all going to want to take credit for it. The players are the most responsible for it, right?
Yeah.
The players are always the most responsible for it. I just want to see if I could get this stupid list up. I just want to see who the managers were of these. Well, okay, here's another way to do
Yeah,
it.
when you have it, let's see. I'll do a little soliloquy, right? So like, if you're going like matching to percentages and things like that, I mean that always sorts of feels like that's something you win it 3 out of 4 times, right? Maybe something like that. But like inevitably, your probability is going to wind up popping up and going the other way. So like to me, that using that sort of organizational design of your of selecting the players and matchups on the field feels like that's successful in the long run, but it's hard to get it to string together to outperform in the short run. Versus a good manager is able to take those players and get them to play above themselves. Right? It's like you're never going to wind up getting that organization. Right? The cog is going to do what the cog is designed to do. Is sort of the ideal one of the analytical driven organization. But then I said for a Shilt, right, where he has the cogs are okay, but they're not the greatest. Finds a way to motivate the players, and you get enough out of them to all of a sudden go above and beyond. And that's how you get those sorts of streaks, where all of a sudden, like your middle reliever is now all of a sudden unhittable, right? Or your starters are going that extra distance because they're buying it now and so forth. Whereas just going to say like, all right, you're supposed to you know go for the three outcome, whatever. That just feels inevitably that's you're going to wind up having your off day. And that's just the way probabilities work. I mean, if everything works the way it's supposed to, you're occasionally going to have stuff that doesn't go your way. And the human element is the one that changes it. Where again, and let's get a little geeky in statistics, right? We have correlation, and basically all the parts start to correlate together, and all of a sudden it turns into a monstrous wave, versus in a normal distribution of the model. Something's going this way, something's going that way. I'm pointing left and right for those of us on the radio, and but you're not going to have everything all rolling in the same way at the same time, and that's something I think that a good manager who can manage this human capital is able to go out and achieve that.
Okay, I got him.
So there's your soliloquy.
I got him. So 19 game winning streak is tied for the fifth longest ever. That's the 1906 White Sox, managed by Fielder Jones, who they won the World Series. Now let's see. Fielder Jones had a career managerial record of in 10 seasons, he had a 540 winning percentage, 683 and 582. So in 10 seasons, he was 101 games above 500. He's, not in the Hall of Fame or anything, but I'd say he was a pretty good player manager for the most part. And then the last like 3 seasons, he he managed. Wait, is that his federal league too? Yeah, it looks like they're including. Oh, yeah, it looks like his federal league is in there as well. So he was good enough that the federal league, St. Louis Terriers, yanked him away after he was not managing the 1908 White Sox. He didn't manage the White Sox after '08. So I'd say that's a pretty good manager for his day. Would you agree?
I concur.
Okay. The other 19 game winning streak was the 47 Yankees, of course, managed by Bucky Harris. Uh, and Bucky Harris was under 500 as a manager for his career, but he managed 29 seasons in the majors from 1924, and before his last season was 1956. Now his first, let's see, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven of his first 8 seasons, he was a player manager, and he had 2 stints with the 3 stints with the Washington Senators, and he jumped in for the Yankees for 47 and 48, and he won the World Series in his first year there. So a guy who managed his 2,158 wins, 3 pennants and 2 World Series titles. I'd say that's a pretty good manager, Doug. Would you concur?
He might have had a little wind at his sails with the 47 Yankees, but okay,
Fine.
I'll give you that.
Look, the Senators thought he was good enough to manage them in 3 different stints. The Tigers thought the same of him for 2 different stints, and the Phillies even gave him a shot in 43 during the war. So he's when you were talking about guys who were gainfully employed doing that job, 29 friggin' years is a long time. I'm saying
Okay,
Bucky
he's good.
Harris was
Okay, he's good.
was a solid manager, right?
All
He's a
right,
he's a
solid
name,
manager.
you know.
Solid.
Now we get to the rare air of the 20s. 2002 A's, Moneyball. That's your guy right there. That's your guy, right?
Yep.
Who is it? You remember?
Art now?
Art Howe. So Art Howe managed 14 seasons in the majors after a long playing career. So Art Howe, dog, was 8 games under 500 for his career. 8 games under. But in those A's teams,
The Mets will do that to
yeah,
you. Pre Mets, I think he's over 500.
he's way over 500.
So
He
yeah,
he was
might not be fair to old Art.
so in 7 years with the A's, he was 600 and 533, which is a 530 winning percentage. He managed the Astros, for whom he played, for 5 years, and he was a 484 winning percentage manager. And his 2 years with the Mets, he was a 424. So yes,
Mets killed him.
the Mets brought him way down,
Well, that's what they do.
and even with the Astros, he was above 500 twice, below 500 twice, and 500 once. So that's a solid manager, right? He's a guy who's 14 years managing in the league is a good manager, right?
Well
So
said. Well, I will. In fairness, right? The money ball is directly the start of the whole organizational behavior, right? Now, in the movie gets totally overblown, right? It makes like Art
yes,
Howe into like ridiculous on the other side. So that's
it, it also
unfortunate.
it also forgets the fact that Mark Mulder, Tim Hudson, and Parasito existed.
Yeah, yeah. Other than those things, but that's probably a classic case of right, like everything coming together, right? So to be able to go out and maximize everything that you have out of players, obviously some analytics in there, obviously some good on the field management as well.
If you were going to compare Art Howe to like any of the 2021 managers in Major League Baseball, who would it be? Mike Shildt, right? I mean, it's
Pretty much.
right,
That's
right.
kind of where I was going.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
100%.
okay, now we get into third place all-time winning streaks. The 35 Cubs, the 1935 Cubs. Charlie Grimm, a name that you know from his playing days in 1927, and he was still playing in 32 when he managed the Cubs as a player manager to the World Series for the second part of that season. They lost to the Yankees. Babe Ruth's called shot off of Charlie Root. We all know that story, but he takes over late in that year and goes 37 and 18 and gets the Cubs to the World Series. The Cubs. The Cubs. He gets the Cubs to the World Series again in 35. He gets to the Cubs to the World Series in 45, and he finishes for most of or parts of 19 seasons in the majors as a manager, the first 5 as a player manager. So Charlie Grimm, career winning percentage, dog, 547.
The Cubbies. That's impressive.
547. Managed the Cubs from 32 to 49 with an interruption during the war. He didn't manage there from 39 to 43, but then he came back and managed. And after 49, he had a few years off. He managed the Boston Braves. I think he took over and managed out the rest of a season there, 120 games. And he moved with them to Milwaukee through 56 and didn't make it through the 56 season, ends up getting replaced. And of course, they go to the World Series, right, for a couple of years. And then he came back and managed a few games, 17 games for the Cubs in 1960. So Charlie Grimm, again, respected manager, probably a really good manager, right?
100%. Yep.
Second place, second longest winning streak ever, the 2017 Cleveland Indians, managed by Terry Francona, who fits this profile perfectly, except for the fact that, he's got a good shot at going to the Hall of Fame. His career winning percentage, dog, 540. And if you take out his Phillies days, which were his first shot, he was never over 500 with the Phillies. His Phillies winning percentage was 440. He won 2 World Series with the Red Sox. He ended the curse. Was a 574 manager in 8 years with the Red Sox and a 556 manager in 9 years with the Indians, for goodness sake. So, and they do have him listed here in Baseball Reference as 162 games this season. He didn't manage them all, though. He was out for quite a while. So I don't know how those are actually going on his managerial record, but either way, he's probably going to the Hall of Fame.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Speaking of the Hall of Fame, did you know that the 1916 New York Giants won 26 straight games and they were managed by John McGraw, whose winning percentage was 586, and who is in the Hall of Fame with his 3 World Series titles and his 10 pennants. So John McGraw is so old school that he managed the Baltimore Orioles when they were basically the Yankees, the Yankee precursors. So he managed them in 1889 as a player manager, and then 1901, 1902, at which time he switched over and went to the New York Giants, and he stayed there from 1902 through 1932. He did have a little interruption there in 1927. He only managed 122 games. But John McGraw. Okay, so what have we established by doing that little fun trip through memory lane? Mad Dog Russo thinks he's the only one. Where else are you going to get talking about the 1916 Giants on a day when there's a Red Sox and Astros game? Only here. I'm the only one dumb enough to do it. No, we're dumb enough too. The point being, was it wise to fire Mike Shildt? He kind of, he's getting into that realm of these guys. And I think what it means, Dog, is somebody else is going to hire him and somebody else is going to end up being really happy with him.
Mm-hmm. I hope the Metsies could go and find a GM quickly who could hire this guy. Because I would love to get him. He's too smart to come here. But yeah, I mean, this guy's, why, what organization wouldn't grab him? You might know somebody that might fit in.
Well, I know a lot of organizations don't want to touch him because of the reason why he left. And look, this is the criticism of Aaron Boone. The Aaron Boone criticism is the same as the Dave Roberts criticism. He's there to execute plans that the front office is putting in place, of which he has some say. His say is probably not the final say. This is nothing new. Does he ever get a chance to manage with his gut? Maybe there are just some times in some certain situations that you just simply can't account for every single thing. But you know what? Aaron Boone played in the majors for a long time. He hit one of the most famous home runs in the history of the team that he manages against their arch rival that everybody complains about him not beating. Well, who threw more of a dagger into the Red Sox than Aaron Boone besides Bucky Dent? It's Bucky Dent and then Aaron Boone, right?
True.
So how soon we forget he would be more appreciated as a Yankee if he had never managed the team. But it looks like from the accounts that we're hearing and seeing that he's going to get at least another year. And Cashman has his situation in place where he knows that Boone is going to execute the plan that his people are sending down. And to criticize, like, I that's why I think it's just hard to like criticize Boone or Dave Roberts for doing their job. Like, you're criticizing that dog. You're gonna love this because I'm gonna get so political right here. You're gonna love this dog. You're gonna love this. This is criticizing Obama, not criticizing the drone operator for Obama ordering the strikes. I mean, like that's the famous um, analogy, right? That was from what 2012, right? So that's kind of like what it is. Like you don't criticize the drone operator, you criticize the regime. So Cashman is not above reproach, but Boone, I mean, listen, if Aaron Judge respects Aaron Boone, why should I have a problem with Aaron Boone? Like, I don't, again, to me, he's a guy that you respect because he wore the uniform, he's worn it with distinction, and he's a third generation major leaguer. He knows what is going on in a locker room. He's a smart guy. So I don't know. You know me. I guess I'm always the defender of a lot of these guys, but um, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's fair to say. I mean, especially if you look back into a postmortem on the Yankees and why did they underachieve this year? I mean, Aaron Boone's on the list, but he's nowhere near the top of the list, right? And that's kind of what we talked about before, right? That just all around baseball, the volatility of a manager has just been reduced and reduced and reduced, right? So you're just not in a position to affect as many games due to the analytics overlay and a lot of things like that. Um, yeah, I mean, fair question was, where the hell was your center fielder and where was your shortstop? And why do you have four second basemen on this team? Like that's like number one, two, and three in my list of like what was you know were you setting yourselves up for success with this? Um, guys who are banged up in the starting rotation and whatnot. I mean, the fact that they wound up going out and winning as many games as they did, you know, yeah, did Boone blow a couple tactically? Maybe, right? Did he probably sneak a couple tactically? Probably, right? But yeah, the bigger problem with the underachievement on the team, to me, clearly comes more from the general manager than uh, than the on the field manager.
Yeah, there again to me, you're also criticizing a team that's made the playoffs 4 straight years because of what their opponents are doing. You've hit the Astros in essentially their dynastic phase, right? They sucked worse than any team has ever sucked for a 5 6 year period, and they completely bottomed out, and then they did their work and they ended up getting the right mix of guys, and those guys panned out, and some of the guys who didn't, I mean, dude, they threw away JD Martinez like out of that group. They just threw him away. They cut him. Like JD, or was it the Tigers that cut? I don't know. The Astros got rid of him for nothing.
Yeah.
So imagine him in the middle of that mix, right? On top of all those other guys. And they let George Springer walk, and they're 3 wins from the World Series. George Springer, he's the guy that a lot of people thought was the cog in that wheel, right?
Yep.
And well, guess what? When you have like four wheels, you have four different cogs. Like one of the wheels breaks, and you just keep rolling along. Um, so like the other criticism of the Yankee regime is, oh, look at the Red Sox. They won the World Series in 2018, and you know the, this is what I was talking about before too, where people are anointing this team as being in the World Series already, which is premature. It might happen, but it's premature. Um, they haven't won the World Series yet. If they do, that's when you can make the case that, okay, they took it apart after 2018 and they've gotten back there within 3 years, and you're operating on the same payroll plane as they. How do you let them do that? Meanwhile, you have the same core of guys that you had when they got past you and won the World Series, right? So it only becomes a legit criticism to me until they win it again. And if they win it again, it's probably more a testament to the way that they do things rather than the way that you don't do things. Because it's not like they've fallen out of the playoffs. They're still there. They had to scratch and claw to get there. They had the same record as the Red Sox. If they won that game, who's to say they wouldn't have done the same thing to the Rays that the Red Sox did? No, nothing. There's nothing to say that.
Yep.
The Rays beat up the Red Sox the same way they beat up the Yankees and everybody else this year. It was stunning the way that the Red Sox just stopped them in their tracks. The Yankees could have done the same thing. It wouldn't have been that much of a surprise. And if Gleyber Torres and Gary Sanchez were hitting, then yeah, it probably would have been that way, you know? And since they weren't, and you couldn't have expected them to, then that gets to your point, Dog, where you're saying, well, they're your guys, Cashman, and they haven't performed. So what are you going to do now? Let's go. Let's switch to the Mets, Dog. We're beating a dead horse with the Yanks. Let's switch to the
So
Mets.
let's beat another defenseless animal.
No, the Mets are in a different position, right? The Mets are in a position where they
Very
need to
interesting.
get they need to get a GM in there, and every report that you see just keeps backing up everything that we said 2 months ago. They're
Yep.
looking at they haven't even nobody's even publicly brought up the name that's going to get this job. Ray Montgomery.
Bolt from the blue is going to be the headline.
Yeah.
It's it Mets are interesting right now. They are actually well. Let's stick with Ray here. So I mean
Well, we're
maybe
coming a
they
little out of the blue. We got to give a little
yeah
background and say that like every report you hear is Theo Epstein's not interested, Billy Bean's not going to come, David Stearns is not going to be let out, and those are the three people that everybody's been talking about. So they're going to have to go in a different direction. Guess what?
yeah
Those guys were
couple
never
couple
coming
guys in the
anyway.
Dodgers, and the Dodgers are going to elevate them to something else too. So they're not going to be able to get in position and so forth. Sounds like president of baseball operations probably isn't going to happen at this point. So you're kind of back to where you were last year, with instead you're kind of going for a GM and trying to bridge it until you get the better candidates around there. Um, Kind of blows my mind that I can't possibly find another person who might be a good president of baseball operations who's not like over the 70s and fighting cancer, or Billy Bean or David Stearns. I mean, there's nobody else out there. It's at that part is frustrating, but yeah. But then you start to look and say, if you can't hire those guys, you pick the apple from the tree, as you sort of say, and who's in that Stearns tree, and so um, it's I think it's an interesting move. I think you go and you get, I said you get a if you get a younger GM, they're going to be able to be a little bit more controlled. I would say. It's probably fair to say versus the organization around at that point. It probably needs a little bit to kind of get up to speed and build up the staff and everything and so forth. But yeah, I think it'd be a very interesting fit for the New York Mets.
Right now, people are hitting the 15-second back button and saying, wait, I wasn't paying attention. Who did they say? Who did they say? Who are they talking about?
Wait, I haven't seen this.
Yeah, you haven't seen it because nobody's reported it. Ray
Not yet.
Montgomery. That's
Not
who the
yet.
Mets are gonna. He's gonna be the Mets GM, and it's gonna be a great pick, and he's gonna bring them into prominence. So if go listen, he's been on the show. Go back in the archives. He was on one of the very early shows from I think May of 2020. Does that sound right?
Yep.
And he's he he's a New York guy. He grew up actually as a Mets fan, and he's had his time playing in the majors. Short career there after a stellar career at Fordham, and he's been a baseball lifer. He knows his way around the old school. He knows his way around the new school, and he was David Stearns' right hand man in Milwaukee for many years. He was the Diamondbacks farm director for a while before that, and this previous offseason, the Angels picked him out and bolstered their front office staff with basically three or four guys that would be considered GM types. So I can't imagine that he's a guy that's going to be ignored here after the real baseball people start to get involved. I mean, unless the real baseball people are not getting involved. He's to me, he's an easy pick for this. Easy pick. He can handle every part. He can handle the media part. He can handle the baseball part. He understands every job that every player has to do. He understands every job that happens, in the minor league system, and he understands the major league parts with the contracts and everything else. So, what more do you need? I mean, and then from there, right, dog.
Year from
That
now.
you no, but that's we were talking. We started out because we were talking about the managers, right?
Yep.
So then you have a guy in place or a woman in place at the GM position. That's when you have them go find managers that will work with them, work with their philosophy. And if that manager, like Kim Eng in Miami, right? I don't think she's pushing Don Mattingly out the door. And Don Mattingly, I think, does his own set with analytics, and he does his own, stuff with his gut, and I think that jives with what Kim Eng wants to do. So I don't think that she's pushing him out the door. But obviously, with the Cardinals and Shilt, they're looking to go in a different direction. Well, Shilt and Mattingly are from the same school, right? Like the same school of management, where they're going
Yep.
to interject some of that stuff. But look who the Cardinals went at. Like the Cardinals went out at the trade deadline when nobody thought they were even involved in the race anymore. And they're like, why are they trading for John Lester and Jay Happ? Like, what are they even doing? And then look at who their manager is, right? Like, he wanted guys that are horses. He didn't care that they're past their primes and, whatever. Like, there was no special, there's no mystery about John Lester and Jay Happ at this point. There's no mystery. Those guys go out there if they're hurt, whatever they're going to do, and they're going to try to give you as many innings as they can. They want the ball, even if they know that they don't have their best stuff anymore. And they're just going to try to figure out a way to get you through games, get you innings. And what did it do? It took a lot of pressure off the Cardinals bullpen, and it ended up making a difference once they started putting things together. So it does to me it doesn't happen without a general manager giving a manager some of the tools that he wants to work with or needs, and to put the types of arrows that he puts or wants to put in his quiver, that sort of thing. You got to have dog. If you have a certain kind of gun, not every kind of bullet is going to work.
That is true.
Is it? Because I don't really know that much about
There is
guns,
like
and I know
one.
you
There's
do.
like one weirdo like apocalypse gun that
Is
does
there?
fit like everything,
Okay,
but it
I
kind of
was uh,
sucks.
I was a little scared about that one. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not that much on the gun thing.
A little subcaliber. But put a little boot in it.
All right.
So send it through.
What else do we
Yeah,
need to cover, dog? Did
I
we
don't know.
did we
But
cover it all?
I assume we're gonna save the how we fix the Mets and the Yanks for future episodes because
Yeah, I don't think
those
we need
kind
to
of too
do it.
big.
I don't think we need to do it during the playoffs. And I
Yeah.
think we need a few things to kind of hash themselves out. Like I don't think we could do that before Halloween because Aaron Boone's contract is through October 31st. So it's not even worth debating. I mean, unless they decide already that they're going to move on from him, then,
Yeah.
maybe there's something to talk about, but even then you kind of like who are you gonna put in there? It totally depends on who the GM is at that point. And if like I think there's an equal chance that if Boone is not the manager, then Cashman's not the general manager. I feel like Cashman wants to keep Boone around and he's just not going to listen to a lot of this stuff that's being bandied about.
Well, Cashman's got one year left too, right?
Yeah, well Boone's expired.
Yeah. So
So
Boone could
Cashman
go,
has
but
one.
Cashman's only got the one, right? So
Yeah.
maybe you say, look, you have one more shot, and we get Seager, and we fix the other one or two pieces, and let's put the new band back together. And we'll
Well,
get
I
you a new
mean
drummer.
that listen, you slot Corey
That fixes a lot of problems real
you
quick.
slot Corey Seager in there, that fixes almost everything immediately.
Yeah,
You could
hurts.
you could review the outfield, um, and it's just dependent on really what you want to do with Aaron Hicks. If you think he's okay, like which you don't. I know you want to get on from him. You need a left-handed or switch hitting type of outfielder that can really that can play center or would like to play center. Otherwise, you just consider moving Judge to center full time instead of bouncing him around. Maybe I don't know. In this day and age, you don't even have to do that, do you? Look who the Dodgers put in center field every day. Sometimes Chris Taylor's there. Sometimes Gavin Lux is there. In previous years, you would have thought it was absurd to have anybody but Cody Bellinger in there. You wouldn't care if he didn't. You'd be like, oh, he's going to hit 164. Okay, so I'll just bat him eighth. I'll bat him even behind the pitcher. I don't care. He's just so superior defensively in that position. But they'll just throw anybody out there at this point. And maybe that helps these guys nowadays. They want to be more flexible in terms of their positions. I don't know. I don't know. Easy. I think the Yankees are not that difficult of a puzzle to solve. Resign Rizzo, sign Seager, look at, peel the market for outfielders that can play center, that also can bat lefty in some way, shape, or form, either full time or part time. That's it, you know. And maybe if you really want to, if there's some kind of catching thing that comes up, you explore that. And, if it means trading Torres to get, Torres and Sanchez to get a different, better catcher or something, maybe you do that. I don't know. It would be worth a shot. Get better defensively back there at least.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the defense is a huge flaw in the Yanks right now, and I think again Seager takes a big step towards there. I agree. I think you go defense in the outfield. You probably go defense in one of the two, right? So you're the center fielder or the catcher, and then you kind of live with the other one, right? You're not going to necessarily have awesome fielders everywhere, unlike most of the time. So you gotta take a little bit somewhere. But yeah, I mean, especially if you have like Stanton and Judge, right? I mean, just get a great glove guy in center field and let him just run.
Yeah.
Let him chase everything down, and that saves the wear and tear. Like the problem with Judge, right? If you put him in center field, that's just the wear and tear on him, right? So it's just do you want to do that with your prime player who's your huge hitter? Like, could he do it? Sure, right? Do you want him to do it all the time? Probably not, right? Let's get a kid out there who can fly and let him go jump around, let him go jump, slam into the walls and stuff like that, and let Stanton and Judge sit out there, or Frazier and Judge, or however you're gonna mix it around, um, go out there and just hit, right, and be good fielders, and be okay when the ball's hit to him and whatnot, and Judge be a great fielder in right field. Um, and then I think that fixes an awful lot of problems within the Yankees.
And listen, you could take a guy like Joey Gallo. The people are like, oh, you could trade him, whatever. You could make him a much more useful player if you play him more. You basically he doesn't have to play second, but you could turn him into like your version of Brandon Lau. He plays all three outfield positions. Let him get time at third. You know how many times the guy's played third base in his major league career? 92 games. And he's played first there as well. He's played center 55 games. He's played right 161 and left 207. So he's played left a little bit more than the other positions, but he's capable of playing those other positions. So why not use? I mean, maybe first base you don't really necessarily need him, but let him play there. Like play him at third. What do you care? Just fucking play him at third. Like play him at third, bat him seventh, use his
Be
walks.
nice if he hit 200.
Well, yeah, but it becomes less of an issue if you can move the guy around and plug him in
Yeah,
different
you have
spots.
enough good fielders all around there, right? So you got
He's not a bad. I
Urshela's
don't
a
think.
good fielder, right?
Yeah, Urshela's a great fielder when he's
Yeah,
at third.
so you're set there. You're set there. You got Seager. I mean, now you're starting to put stitch together a really good. I mean, you got a Rizzo. I mean, what you want to go Rizzo? I guess we're doing the show in the Yankees right now. Rizzo, Rizzo Torres, Rizzo LeMahieu, whoever's got the hot bat at that point, Seager, Urshela. I mean,
Well, I
that's
think it's.
okay, right?
I think
Get
it's.
a good guy in the outfield, and then you put Stanton and Judge on either side of it. Pretty good very good defense. You have one, maybe down guy, maybe just not a lot of range at Stanton. That's a pretty darn good lineup to put behind you.
By the way,
Okay,
dog. As soon
your catchers, your catcher,
it's
you can look to try and find someone better, right? But maybe you get there immediately, maybe you don't. But that's not bad, right there.
in typical Monday Night Live fashion, as soon as I mentioned J.D. Martinez's name, he hit a two-run homer. 11,
I was wondering,
11
I did
3.
see it. I did see it was a two-run homer. I couldn't tell who it
11
was.
3. J.D. Martinez. Astros
I was
didn't need
trying to
him.
peek out the corner of my eye here.
Astros didn't need him.
So,
And now the Astros are trying to mount their own rally again to get the runs back, but who the hell knows what's going to happen there. Um, yeah, I look, I think that you could definitely there's a few guys you could move on from, particularly Torres and Luke Voigt that have and should have value. They should have
yep.
value, especially if you want to package them together, right? It's not, Max Scherzer and Trey Turner, but you should be like, how do the Brewers not need those guys? Like, how do the Brewers not need those guys? Like, can't you trade those guys to the Brewers for like somebody good, like a pitcher, anybody? Like, trade him for I don't know, Christian Yelich. How you doing? I mean, he's look at his value, how much it's gone down, right? So, like, you can't explore that. You got to be able to explore that. And then you let LeMahieu play second, and you let Urshela play third. You have Gallo pop in at third, left. You still got Aaron Hicks if he comes back. Whatever. What are you gonna do? And if you wanted to keep Torres and play him at second, I'm fine. But then you're just not getting a whole lot out of DJ LeMahieu.
Yeah.
And, I'd rather try to get that value out of LeMahieu now while he still is, in his early 30s rather than at the end of the 6-year contract when that'll be fine to play him a few games at second, a few games at third. If he has to fill in at first, maybe he'll play the outfield for you. Like, let him play anywhere and wherever. But, yeah.
Mhm.
All right, doggy. Uh, we promised it
Yeah.
at the beginning, so I think we're stuck doing Die Hard Dads. Can
There
I? like Kenley Jansen, I balked every time I tried to click that.
we
Um,
go.
he literally balks every pitch. Whoever said that, I think was it not Gaetti or was it Jeff Fry that said Kenley Jansen balks at every pitch? He's totally right. Like I was thinking it, and then I just saw the tweet, and it's so right. He like balks on every pitch. Anyway, uh, All right, dog. Tomorrow, well, okay. As we speak, it's the 18th of October, which means in just a few hours' time, I hit that one day of the year where I age 3 years in one day because it is the triplets Sweet 16 on Tuesday. So, what does that entail? Well, we have producer Xavier, sometimes producer Xavier. Um, Sometimes his initials are PROD, sometimes it's AWOL. I did it. That's homework. I can't kill him for that. And Dominic did, step in. He's like, "Oh, I'll monitor the live stream for you," but when I needed to like do the charge song and stuff like that, I'm kind of on my own. But so one of the things that happens is Louisa, our resident hockey player and my fellow Devils hockey fan, always likes to be able to go to a Devils game. Now the boys are like anti-hockey. It's like the last place that they want to go, literally on their birthday. So a negotiation has to take place in order for Louisa to be taken to a Devils game on all of their birthday. So that negotiation happened a while back, and Debbie and I will be taking Lou to the Devils versus Kraken game. And interestingly enough, Lou often gets jerseys for her birthday, and two of the jerseys that she has are Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes, both of whom scored their first career goal on her birthday. So she wants to make a big sign. We bought the poster board. She's like, I'm gonna go with the Nico sign. I'm gonna wear the Nico jersey. I'm gonna try to get his stick. So she's gonna have to make some kind of sign to get his stick. Um, so that's what she's operating under. I said, well, maybe you should shoot for like find a devil who hasn't scored in his career yet, and maybe like make a sign, like say, hey, you're gonna get your first one tonight, and let me have your stick. So somehow we've predicted that Dawson Mercer is going to score his first NHL goal on that Tuesday night game. So if that happens again, that we'll just put that in the prognostication thing. And the boys will be
You ever call
getting.
NASA tell him to give up the stick?
Yes, I do. We'll talk about that offline. Shut up. She's not listening. Yeah, we'll have to negotiate that offline.
Can't be that hard.
Yeah, I know. I actually, you know what? I didn't think of it until now. You got to make that happen for me. Shit. Um, so yeah, we're gonna see that, and then the boys will have they'll have their night Friday night. We'll have a little shindig for them, and then it's like everybody battling, clawing over the next one to try to get their permits, for driving, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So very exciting times. Debbie and I had our 25th anniversary last week, the kid's 16th birthday this week, and then Deb's uh, 39th birthday again in just a week after that. So busy October, a little slightly lighter show schedule, and the playoffs are going on, and it's like, I want to do a show every night, and there's just stuff going on. But
It's exhausting.
anyway, that's my that's my Die Hard Dads. I usually I'm like, hey, we're doing Die Hard Dads. Hey, dog, what do you got? Like, but today I carried it for you, buddy. I
There you
carried it
go.
for you.
Well done. So, am I going? Or are we doing both? Or we got?
It's entirely up to you. If you got something good off the top of your head,
I'll,
and
I'll,
it's
I'll do a quickie, a nice little shout out to my oldest daughter Molly, who I don't always get to plop on here. She's down at Elon, senior right now, but she did a great thing. I guess it was last week. She actually sent up a handwritten note saying for each one of us something like I guess that she liked and was grateful for about everything that we did for her. So she did that around the entire family. So me, Kath, and then let's see, Ryan, Katie, Doreen, Keegan, and Michael, and Lady, of course, too. Ladies, of course, Lady for just being perfect. So that was really sweet. That was very very nice and very touching of Molly. Get anyone to handwrite anything at this point is a big deal. Never mind, um, never mind the younger generation who barely even learned script, frankly. So that was pretty cool. So good job by Molly. Give a nice little charge to everyone in the family, including the Diamond Dog.
Wow, proud dad moment. Now, if you asked her right now, if she knew how old Michael was, would she be able to tell you?
She's pretty good about it. Not everyone else in the family is quite so good at, and Keegan's probably the worst at it. Keegan sometimes thinks he's the baby. Like that's not quite the way this works, there, buddy.
Oh, you got one of those. Hey, can't blame him for trying. At one point, he was.
That is true.
So,
Shortest time as a baby in the family.
well, well, he doesn't
You got
care.
hosed.
Well, he's trying to make up for the title that he lost.
Exactly.
You know. All
So
right, that was a good one, dog. We whew, bang this one out. We got to do one final score check here. Yeah, 11-3. Boy, if the Astros rally on that one, I'm just going right into the Hall of Fame. I don't know what the Hall of Fame is for, but I'm going right in.
that's
All
it.
right, don't forget to follow us everywhere at Diamond Diehards, all the soch, and follow the dog on Twitter at Jeff Healy 8. That's the number 8. And if you're really all about Twitter, at Diamond Diehards is what I tweet from as well. If you want to do a little biz with us, like Big Ed's Car Wash in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, fmsgraphics.com or sportsmapsmapz.com, then contact us through social media or check us out on LinkedIn. You could do it through LinkedIn. That's Sports Maps. Came through there. So we'd love for you to do that. We'd love for you to interact on our live shows or even when you're listening on iTunes or Spotify or checking us out on YouTube. We'd like to get some more subscribers there. It's been a little light. So go check us out on YouTube, hit that subscribe, and pound that alerts button as well. And you'll know every time we've put up a video if you haven't caught it live and if we haven't done it live. So that will wrap it up for a Monday Night Live during the ALCS Game 3 and on the off day of the NLCS between games 2 and 3. For the dog, Jeff Healy, this is Joe Rizzo. Diamond Diehards is out.